Hey everybody, this is Linux Fundamentals, and in this video what we're going to do is go over DNF, the package manager. Now we used it briefly in another video just to update everything, update all packages, and I can show you that command. So we're going to do sudo DNF update. There you go. And you can see just from when we ran it last time till now, there's a bunch more updates. So what we'll do is there's 4 packages to install, 191 to upgrade. So let's do that. Let's upgrade them. We'll let that run. So prior to DNF in CentOS or RHEL 7 or RHEL 6, I believe there was just Yum. We used Yum for a while. And the major reason that Yum has been deprecated is because it's poor performance. It uses a lot of memory, and it took a while to resolve all the dependencies. Now, DNF fixes a lot of those problems, and that's why it's recommended that we use DNF now. I think you can still type Yum in here, and it will still work. But what you're going to want to do is use DNF. So we're going to let this run. This seems like it's going to take a little bit of time here. So I'm going to pause the recording while we wait for that to complete. Okay, so now everything's updated. That took a long time on this box because it's running on EVE-NG, running on VMware, running on everything. So it's going to take a while. It took a while. And what happened here was we updated to 9.1. So this is actually just 9.1 just came out. So that's why the other day we did some updates. Today we did an update and it updated it to 9.1. So if we do a cat etc red hat release, you can see now we're on Rocky Linux release 9.1. Before we were on 9.0. Okay, so now after an upgrade like that, I'm going to do a restart. So shutdown -R now. And that's going to tell me don't do that. But you can also use system control, systemctl reboot. So let's do that. Sudo shutdown -R now. We'll just run that. All right, so it closed the connection. Let's go back and look here. There it is, VMware. It's restarting. And you can see now 9.1 is here in the kernel list. So it's booting 9.1 kernel. So you generally need to reboot for the new kernel. Now, there's, of course, some ability with some of the devices now to hot patch a kernel. That's usually a paid feature. So we don't have that here. There's some third parties that do it. It's interesting. It's still probably a good idea to reboot every once in a while. Just make sure everything's working. All right, it's back up. You see that? And we're running Enterprise Linux 9.1. So we'll go back here. And you see we disconnected. So let's reconnect. And we're going to use our password. All right, so now we're back in. All right, so DNF. So sudo DNF update. That was the command that we ran. And we'll run it again. Now there should be no updates at this point. There it is. So nothing to do. It just ran. So we're good. Okay. So our next step is let's continue to look at DNF and what it can do. So we can run sudo DNF check update. If we don't want to run update and actually do the update, we can just run a check update. So that's a command. And that will give us a list of packages that need to be updated. Now we did the full system update. If we only wanted to update certain packages, we could do sudo DNF update and then name the package. In this case, we'll do nginx MariaDB. Let's see what it says. So it says, so we don't have either of these packages installed. So that's going to be our next step. Let's install. All right, so let's install nginx. So nginx is a web server. So DNF install nginx. Now we can also install another package by just putting a space there, and let's first install this. All right, so it's going to give me this, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to? Now I'm going to break out of here. Control C. Control C is usually what you want to hit to get back to the command line. And what I'll do is I'll just say -y or -y right there. So now it's just going to go through. It doesn't prompt me, and that's often something you want to do just so it doesn't prompt you, and you can just go through if you're sure you know what you're doing. So that just installed nginx and all the dependencies. So it found, hey, what do I need? I'm installing this package. What dependencies do I need? And it does that all for you. So it's simple, keeps everything, makes it real easy. So there, we installed nginx. Okay. So if we wanted to do an update, DNF update, we can also do something like this. We can exclude a package. So I don't want to update nginx. I want to keep it the same. No problem. Just do that. Okay. DNF search nginx. So this will find any package with nginx in it. And you can see here there's a few. And right there, that's what we already installed this. And this will also search the name and the summary. So that's good if you're searching for a certain package that you want to install and you don't know the name. You can do that. Or you can use Google. Often I'll just type in RHEL 9 and then the package name that I'm looking for, so I know. Because sometimes I know with Apache it's been called HTTPD in some releases and Apache 2 in some other releases, so sometimes it's confusing as to what you want to put in there. So okay, so we installed nginx. There's also a command to reinstall. So let's do that. Sudo DNF reinstall nginx. And that will say, okay, I'm going to pull this. I'm going to reinstall this. And there it goes. It reinstalled. Just to make sure if something happened, maybe you messed something up, maybe you went in there, deleted a file that you shouldn't have in the nginx directory. There, that will fix it. All right, so DNF you can also install an RPM that you download. Let's say you downloaded an RPM. I don't have an example of an RPM that's been downloaded, but you can do that. You can, if you download an RPM, you would just do sudo DNF install and then the path home Chris R example .rpm, and that will find all the dependencies and install it in the correct manner. And so it's a clean way to install it. So also we can just do a DNF. If we just want to download a package, we can just do that with DNF download Nginx. Let's do that. And there we go. We're getting that RPM. Now we're downloading that, and it's going to download it to the path where we are. So we are in home Chris R. We do an LL. There it is. There's the RPM. Nginx 1.21, Enterprise Linux 9. So that's how you would just download the RPM. Okay, so to remove packages, sudo DNF remove Nginx. And you can see what this will do is it'll remove Nginx and it'll also find dependencies that are unused. So you can see it's the same dependencies that it installed. It's going to remove those. So it's going to free the space. We're going to say yes to that. There it is. It's erased it. So it's no longer there. So now that that's happened, let's take a look. Now we can do that example sudo DNF install, and then I can do // and that's saying this directory. So that // is saying this directory. So that's an important part. Let's talk about that. So dot is just going to be this directory. So if I don't type this, I didn't, let's see, DNF install. So I can do either home Chris R Nginx, right? I can do that. That works. But I can also do // Nginx, and that's saying the same thing right there. So you can see all it does is it's installing this local RPM, but it also knows it needs these three. It needs those. So it's going to get them and it installs it. Simple. Makes it very, very easy. All right. You can also install or uninstall, multiple ones. So we can do sudo DNF remove Nginx. We want to do that. Nginx and say MySQL. So we could do that, and that will remove both of those. Let's see what it says. So it's going to say, I can't find it. MySQL is not installed in this system. But here it will say, you want me to remove all this Nginx and all of its dependencies. Now, if we did have MySQL installed, it would also remove that and all its dependencies. We're going to say no here, and you can see by the capital N right there, that means that's the default. So if I just hit enter, it'll stop it. It won't do it. Okay. We can also run sudo DNF auto remove. And what this will do is this will remove unneeded packages. So this is going to remove all these packages because they are not required by any installed packages. So let's do that. It clears up some disk space. Not really necessary. I don't know in what case you would want to necessarily do that, but you may. There's also some commands for downgrades, so you can do DNF, sudo DNF downgrade nginx, and I don't think we don't have a previous one installed. Package nginx is of lowest version, cannot downgrade it. But if there was a previous version, it could downgrade it. Maybe you upgraded it and you're having issues, you'd go there and just downgrade. All right, so also sudo DNF group list. So this gives you available groups that you can install just using one command. So often, this is the one I like to install, development tools. If I'm installing a bunch of software on this box, I'm going to definitely install this, and we'll do that right now. We'll go through this. So for this, we'll do sudo DNF, and we'll run this command first, group info, and then development tools. And we have to put it in quotes because it has a space. And there it will show you all the packages that it's going to install. So pretty nice. Let's actually do that. Let's install that. So what we do is we do sudo DNF group install development tools. Man, look at all it. It's going to install 383 packages. It's installing a lot of stuff. Python, some Python like compilers and other things that you need to compile software on a machine. Do we necessarily want to do this right now? Let me think. Yeah, I think we can run this. We can run this in the background. We don't necessarily need to pay attention to it, but all right, because it's going to take on this machine 20 minutes. It's not going to take on a regular machine. It won't take this long. It'll take probably a minute or maybe 5 at most. But okay, so let's go to another command line. Let's open up the other command line here and just reconnect. So we're going to SSH in there. And I'll just show some more. So we have sudo, we did group install, DNF. There's also group remove, and we would do the same thing, development tools. I'm not going to run that because I'm still installing it, but that's how you would do that. So that's pretty good. Okay. We can also run sudo, let me clear this. So command to clear the console, type clear, clears everything. Sudo DNF list. So this command, and it's going to request me to put in my password. And this will show me all of the packages that are installed. So here's where this would come in handy. And this is another command that you should probably know, and you will use it. It's grep. So if I'm looking for just, say, xsane right here, I can grep xsane and run this command and pipe it. See, so I'm piping grep xsane and running this command, and then it only returns those 2 packages. So that's useful, and grep is a command that's very useful, and we'll probably have a video on grep alone. So we can also, let's see if our nginx is installed. And yeah, there you see it. So you can tell now it's definitely installed. Okay, we can also do sudo DNF info nginx, and that's going to give us some information on this package. It's a web server and reverse proxy server for HTTP, SMTP, POP3, and IMAP. Okay, so let's look at, I'm going to clear the screen, where the DNF cache is. So if we go to cd var, which this is where a lot of logs, things like that, temporary PIDs or stuff like that is stored. Var cache DNF. Okay, there we are. LL. And what we see here, this is all of the files, and it's saving all of this stuff that we've run, and it saves it in the cache, so it's quicker. But sometimes you have to clear it, so you can run sudo DNF clean all. That would be the command to clean it. We're not going to do that again. We're running the command. We're running a command over there on this other system, so, or this other terminal. So we're not going to do that right now. But that's how you would clean out. Sometimes you need to clean out the cache and start from scratch. I know that was always a problem with Yum and things like that. All right, so it's pulling this from somewhere, right? It's pulling all these packages. It's going out to the internet and getting them. So that's where repositories come in. So DNF repo list, and I can show you what they are. And here they are, Rocky Linux 9, and it's a bunch of repos. And you can see, though, only certain ones are enabled. So many of these are not enabled. And where are these held? They are held in, they were, let's see if they still are, Etsy yum.repos.d ll, and there you go. So these are the repos. So anything with a repo name is going to be read in here. And I'll show you, let's do a less on the Rocky repo. And there you can see. And I'll show you, here's the interesting thing. If you look right here, base OS debug, it's not enabled. So you can see that this one's enabled. The base OS for Rocky Linux is enabled, but there's a lot of stuff that's not in here. And you're going to see enabled 0, enabled 0. So, but this is where it's reading those repositories from. That's on the file system. Okay, let's get out of less. Okay, so it looks like to add, we can also add a repository easier with DNF. DNF config manager. Add repo. Do I have a repo that I want to add? Actually, let me look for a repo. Let me go here. Just open up. Look for the PowerShell repo, not reop. Okay. And it's gonna, yeah, It's going to tell me. PowerShell, repo, Linux. Let's try to find this and add it in here. Install PowerShell on Linux. So if you like PowerShell, and I certainly do, and I do want to create some videos on PowerShell. You can install PowerShell core on Linux, and it works very nicely. Let's see. Installing on RHEL. That's what we're looking for. And it's going to tell us, so we should be able to try this out right here. RHEL 7. So this is for RHEL 7. That's old. Let's do RHEL 8. So we don't have a RHEL 9, but okay, so we'll just grab this one and just, as an example, install it. Okay. Back here. Paste that in. Let's see how this works. So now, if we do an LL in this command, you see prod.repo has been added. I'll just do a more prod.repo. And what you see is RHEL 8 prod. So that's enabled. So another command we can use for DNF, sudo DNF history. This is pretty nice. It gives us the history. Let's expand this window a little bit. Run that again. See if it gives us a little bit more information. And it tells us what's been changed. Auto remove install. There it tells us we installed, we removed, or we reinstalled. So this is nice if you have some kind of issue. You can go back and look what was done and find out. You can also go into the history and you can do an undo command. So we could say history undo six if we wanted to, or 5 or 4 or any of these in the history list. We could undo them. So that gives us a lot of ability to fix problems, to make make sure everything's working and everything's how we want it to. We can also do a sudo DNF history redo. So we can do a revert or a undo rather, and a redo. So you can do either one. So I think that's where we want to be here for this DNF video. I think we've gone pretty far into it. It's nice to use. It's easy to manage your packages using DNF, and it does a lot of good stuff. So I'd like to thank you for viewing and hope you enjoyed it.